TJ Otzelberger owns the transfer portal, going 5 of 5, turning visits into commits, and the women's basketball team is also starting to gain a little bit of momentum of their own, and spring football comes to a conclusion with their spring game on April 25th. All of that on this week's episode of the Ames Angle. The transfer portal is chaos, and Otzelberger has done a great job of leading Iowa State men's basketball through the opening portion of the portal, landing 5 student athletes and building a 15-man roster with still a decent amount of departures for the Cyclones.
The day after the men's basketball national championship marked the beginning of the transfer portal opening, and that opportunity saw 4 of Iowa State's players announcing their departures from the men's basketball program. Junior forward Milan Momcilovic spent 3 years as a Cyclone, and in his time he put up 1,349 points, 108 assists, 60 steals, and 323 rebounds. This is the opportunity with the transfer portal for Momcilovic is given if he doesn't see a place in the NBA as he entered his name in the NBA draft. Similar to Momcilovic, junior guard Mason Williams is also putting his name in the transfer portal. He did not play last season, and in the 24-25 season, Williams put up 13.9 points, 3.2 rebounds, and 2.4 assists. Junior guard Cade Kelderman, a Waukee, Iowa native, saw 45 games as a Cyclone, is now looking for his next future home. And then wrapping up the 4th Cyclone to announce his departure is senior guard Dominic Nelson, who played in 24 games as a Cyclone and averaged 3.7 points, 0.9 rebounds, and 0.3 assists. He is a senior, so as this plays out, it will be a dispute with his time as a JUCO player.
Yeah, Dominic Nelson is going to, we think, apply for a waiver of eligibility to gain one more season because of those 2 seasons he played at the junior college level. Now, Milan Momcilovic enters the NBA draft with the transfer portal as his backup plan. Momcilovic, a projected late first, early second round pick in the upcoming NBA draft. Based on what we know, a series of conversations happened between head coach TJ Otzelberger and Milan, and it was basically like okay, you're probably going to the draft, and as a backup, you should probably enter the portal because Iowa State and TJ Otzelberger didn't want to wait for Momcilovic's decision within the next month to say, hey, I'm coming back now. Momcilovic is a high-caliber college basketball player and a player that probably takes up a large portion of Iowa State's NIL budget. So by him entering the portal, ending that era with him at Iowa State, it freed up a bunch of NIL money and roster spots, and we saw Otzelberger take advantage of that quick, landing those 5 recruits. Trey Singleton, the Northwestern forward, committed to Iowa State opening weekend, and as a freshman, averaged 7.6 points, 4.8 rebounds as a forward. That's another body that they need, someone to maybe who they can kind of get into that and picture as a Joshua Jefferson type role. Another one, Jaquan Johnson. He transferred from Bradley to Iowa State, landed on the weekend. Now he's a little bit more of a three-point shooter. Shot 43% from the field, 37% from deep, averaging 11.5 points per game for Bradley this season. And he's only 5'11". And the athleticism that we've seen out of this guy, it looks a lot like Tamin Lipsey, but more athletic. So what Jaquan Johnson can do in this Cyclone uniform is going to be impressive, surrounding the guard core with Killian Torrey next season. Now, Taj Manning spent 3 years at Kansas State, and he announced that he is leaving the Farmageddon Rivals and coming up to Ames for his 4th season of college basketball. Leon Bond, the transfer from the University of Northern Iowa, committed to Iowa State, and his connection to the Cyclones goes through former Virginia head coach Tony Bennett, also the coach of current Cyclone Blake Buchanan. They played a season together at Virginia before Buchanan transferred to Iowa State for the beginning of the 2025 season. And rounding out Iowa State's 5 commitments from that weekend, Ryan Prather, the Robert Morris transfer. Prather averaged 15.7 points per game while shooting 36% from deep this season. So we're not going to get that near 50% three-point shooting percentage that Momcilovic gave us, but no one is going to give that type of shooting efficiency other than Momcilovic and likely going to the NBA draft. So Iowa State has a 15-man roster regarding any last-minute entries into the portal. The only other name that I can really think of is Xavier Mitchell to maybe enter the portal, but who knows with Mitchell? He missed most of the season with an apparent injury that was unknown. You got to think maybe there's a medical waiver that he will be applying for to gain that eligibility back and still have a redshirt year. So this Iowa State basketball team is put together for next season. 15 guys, a bunch of returners, lost a lot of guys, but you got them all back, and TJ Otzberger has his roster for next season. Now on the other side of the practice facility, you have the women's basketball team and Bill Fenley, and Fenley has been working to replace the max exodus of his student athletes from the 2025 season.
With the rebuild of the Cyclones women's basketball team ahead, we look to see the incoming players from the transfer portal that has just a little under a week left of players able to find their new homes. Returning for the Cyclones is guards Evangelia Polk, Ariana Jackson, and Freya Jensen, who are all guards, except both Polk and Jackson are juniors at Iowa State, and Jensen is a freshman for the team. But from the transfer portal, we have seen Maya Babbitt from Kent State arrive in Ames. At Kent State last season, she averaged 16.1 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 1.7 assists on her season. And the other player the Cyclones have picked up is center Gift Ezekiel from Florida, who averaged 2.4 points a game, 1.9 rebounds a game, and 0.1 assists. Outside of the transfer portal and current players already, and an incoming freshman for the Cyclones is Macy Comito from Carlisle.
We're going to take a quick intermission with our threads of the week, and Aleigha has something for us this week.
This week, I have a Jonathan Quick jersey from when he was on the Kings in honor of his retirement from the NHL. I'll give the back just for fun. The story of this jersey is, in a true Minnesota fashion, I was at the Minnesota State Fair like 2 or 3 years ago, and of course, the State of Hockey, they had a tent, and they were selling jerseys, and I was like, goalies are my favorite, so the Sparkly Kings jersey came home with me. And yeah, shout out to Jonathan.
We have a few other little bits and pieces of news regarding the Iowa State sports world that may be connected. One of which, fierce rival Iowa Hawkeyes saw multiple wins taken away from their 2023 season due to tampering with their quarterback who played in those games. And the NCAA is revoking those wins, and Iowa State just gained one more win for the 2023 season. Not that it really matters, but it's another bit and piece of news. And then other news, a lawsuit has been filed against Iowa State Athletics regarding information on the travel party of the athletic department's trip to Dublin, Ireland, for that Week 0 matchup with Kansas State. An organization filed a public records request requesting the information, and they never got it. So just a few other bits and pieces of news before we wrapped up this week's episode of the Ames Angle.
Like, comment, subscribe for more at the Iowa State Daily.
We will have full coverage as spring football comes to a close with the Spring Showcase on April 25th at Jack Trice Stadium starting at 10:30 a.m. Instructions can be found on how to watch the game live from Jack Trice Stadium on the Iowa State Athletics website, and we will see you next time